Philadelphia's NBC 10. Now, live from the News Center.
Let's take a little trip, speaking about cars. Let's take a voyage back in time to North Philadelphia. Ceremony is underway right now for the opening of a time capsule that was buried in 1928.
News 10's Edie Huggins joins us live from the Atwater Kent Radio Factory with the details. Hi, Edie.
Hi there, and the details are this, that the time capsule was supposed to have been opened at 11 o'clock, and it's now a little bit after 11, so the time capsule opening is running a little bit late, and you're not going to be able to see it. I guess that's the bad news. The interesting thing, though, at the building where we are in the 5000 Wissahickon Avenue was once the factory of the Atwater Kent Radio Manufacturing Company. At the time, 70 years ago, it was the largest facility of its kind in the nation. Now, Atwater Kent himself was known as a radio pioneer. He had some 93 patents to his name. Now, here's what we did do. We talked to his grandson, who was here today, and he told us a little bit about his grandfather. And then maybe I can tell you a little sneaky thing about what may be in the time capsule. But here is Peter Kent.
He took the concept of taking radios, which were often done by experimenters, collecting parts from different manufacturers, and which he also produced and supplied. So many individual sets were made that way, but he also then took it a step further and built complete radio sets, which there were some available, but he did it in a very big way.
And there's a great Atwater Kent Museum down in at 7th between Market and Chestnut if you really want to know more about this man, because he was amazing. And we do hear that inside the time capsule, even though we're not supposed to know this, is a radio and some newspapers of the day. I'm Edie Huggins, News 10.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Dave Frankel, Rick Williams, and Monica Malpass.
In East Falls this noon, the demolition of a building is offering a look back into history. Action News reporter Cecily Tynan's live in East Falls with the time capsule story. Cecily.
That's right, Monica. I'm standing in front of the Atwater Kent Radio Factory. Now, back in the 20s and 30s, this used to be a major manufacturing plant, but soon it'll be a parking lot. And a lot of times people are sad to see old buildings go, but not today. Today is actually a day to celebrate progress and to take a look back in history.
You know, I don't know what's in this box. There we go. We got the top off. Jack?
In this time capsule, a snapshot of a time gone by. May 21st, 1929, Philadelphia was celebrating a new era, the dedication of the Atwater Kent Radio Factory. The modern air-conditioned facility, conveyor belts, employed 12,000 workers and mass-produced what were considered the finest radios of the time.
I like to say that he was very much as Henry Ford. He took the idea of the radio, improved on it, and then mass-produced it on a conveyor belt system.
7 years later, during the Great Depression, the building closed and was later sold to the federal government. Today, the time capsule was unearthed 67 years later.
This is the evening bulletin for Sunday, May 12, 1929, and it's in remarkably good condition.
In addition to the papers of the day, the time capsule included a program of the dedication and one of the new Atwater Kent screen grid radio sets, the Model 55, known as the radio with the golden voice. Now, historians are very interested to see if this radio works, but unfortunately, no speakers were included in the time capsule. Oh, well. Now, the last tenant to this building was the Department of Veterans Affairs. They've moved to a new facility next door, and they actually need some space for a parking lot, and the members of the Kent family and historians say now at least they have a lot of very interesting mementos to remember this building with. I'm Cecily Tynan, Channel 6 Action News, live on the Action Cam, East Falls. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Cecily.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Gary Papa, Dave Roberts, and Jim Gardner.
Yes, from turning our clocks back to turning back the hands of time with the help of a time capsule. Cecily Tynan has that story.
Herbert Hoover was president. Prohibition ruled the land, and Philadelphia celebrated a new era in manufacturing. May 21st, 1929, the Atwater Kent radio factory opened in East Falls to mass produce what was considered the Rolls-Royce of radio. Atwater Kent and his son lowered the time capsule. Now, with the factory set for demolition, Kent's grandson unearthed a snapshot of history.
There we go. We got the top off.
Inside the time capsule, a copy of the dedication speech and issues of local newspapers.
This is the evening bulletin for Sunday, May 12, 1929, and it's in remarkably good condition.
The most anticipated unearthing, though, the Model 55, the radio with the golden voice.
The tuning was done with this knob, the tone knob, and the radio contained about 10 tubes. It was really prime, top of the line at the time that it was made.
He built his radios into metal cabinets. In building them in metal cabinets, you got less interference. But his background was in automotive, and he was very well versed in early metal stamping techniques, which allowed him to do that.
But the Atwater Kent radios didn't survive the Great Depression. The factory closed 7 years later and was sold to the federal government. Officials say the need to level this old radio factory and turn it into a parking lot is actually a sign of progress. The last tenant to occupy the building was the Department of Veterans Affairs, and it's since moved to a new modern facility next door.
It is sort of sad to see this great building go, but there is another one just like it across the street, so it's not that bad.
And now Philadelphia historians have plenty of artifacts to help them remember a time gone by. I'm Cecily Tynan, Channel 6 Action News, East Falls.
This is KYW-TV, Philadelphia. Now, coverage you can count on. This is KYW News 3 at 6.
Well, a bit of Philadelphia history was revealed today when a time capsule was opened after 67 years. The large metal box had been encased since 1929 inside the cornerstone of the old Atwater Kent radio factory in the East Falls section of Philadelphia. The complex is being demolished, and today treasures such as near-perfect editions of all five Philadelphia papers from May 21st, 1929 were removed from the capsule. Also inside, an Atwater Kent radio in mint condition with its vacuum tubes still inside. The artifacts will be displayed now at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs here in Philadelphia.
And now, Philadelphia's only primetime news hour, honored by the Associated Press as the best newscast in Pennsylvania, the Fox 10 o'clock News.
Members of the Wissahickon community took a trip back in time today. A nearly 70-year-old time capsule was opened at the Atwater Kent Manufacturing Company. And as Gerald Colpan reports, not only did they find cultural artifacts, they also found a company with an amazing history.
Grandpa, who are those two guys?
Why, that's Mr. Atwater Kent, his boy Atten Jr., two of the finest gentlemen a man ever worked for. Had air conditioning in the plant when I worked there back in '29.
What are they doing?
They're putting a time capsule in the cornerstone of the new building. I remember that.
Gee, I wonder what they're putting in it.
Well, today we found out. Because in front of an audience of radio buffs, former employees, and various dignitaries, the Atwater Kent time capsule gave up its secrets, all in honor of the radio pioneer's life, work, and philanthropy, and to remember a plant that once turned out radios at a rate of
5,000 a day. That was in the peak year when after this building was opened. And he beat RCA one year in sales.
What do you think? This builds up the suspense?
Yes, this is the cornerstone, and this is where the cornerstone was. The cornerstone to the largest radio plant in the world. 470,000 square feet of tube-producing monster that turned out what was simply the best product of its kind.
You got your half.
And if you don't believe me, look inside the capsule, because there we found a vintage 1928 Model 55, the epitome of pre-Depression technology, accompanied by newspapers of its day, a Philadelphia record featuring the latest attempts to conquer the air, and a daily news proclaiming a mental hospital unfit and reporting the picadillos between Gary Cooper and Lupe Velez. Some things never change, like the respect for Mr. Kent himself.
He would have been overjoyed to see history revealed. He would have been overjoyed to share with all of us what he put away so many years ago.
Atwater Kent ceased production in 1938, and the plant is now home to the U.S. General Services Administration. But if these walls could talk, they'd probably tell you that the way Old Man Kent built him, this ancient set probably still works. In Wissahickon, Gerald Colpan, the Fox 10 o'clock news.